She had already packed her suitcase. The outfit she had chosen for the world stage was folded neatly inside it. Her diploma was waiting at her school. Her plane ticket was ready. In just 6 days, a 19-year-old girl from a small mountain town in western Honduras was going to board her very first flight ever, bound for London, England, to represent her entire country in one of the most prestigious beauty competitions on the planet. She had been dreaming about this moment since she was a little girl. Her mother had heard her say it out loud, over and over, since before anyone outside their home had ever even noticed her. And now, it was finally real. Instead, on the 19th of November 2014, search teams found her body, buried in a shallow grave beside a river, barely 3 kilometers from where she had been dancing at a birthday party less than a week before. Her name was María José Alvarado Muñoz. She was Miss Honduras World 2014. She was 19 years old, and she never made it to London. But this is not only her story, it is also the story of her sister Sofía, because you cannot tell one without the other. And what the courts eventually proved, years later, behind closed doors, far from the headlines that swept the world, is far more disturbing, far more calculated, and far more heartbreaking than anything that made the front pages. That is the story we are telling today on TrueCrimeWeb. Stay with us. María José Alvarado Muñoz was born on the 19th of July 1995 in Santa Barbara, a small city nestled into the mountains of western Honduras. She grew up in a modest, lower-middle-class household with her parents, Oscar Alvarado and Teresa Muñoz, alongside her 2 sisters, Sofía, Trinidad, and their eldest sister, Karina. From the time she was old enough to speak in full sentences, María José had made one thing clear to everyone around her. She was going to be Miss Honduras someday. Not maybe. Not hopefully. She was going to do it. Her mother would repeat those words in interview after interview years later, with a mixture of pride and grief that is almost impossible to describe. Her daughter had not discovered that dream because someone told her she was beautiful. She had carried it inside her since before the world had any reason to notice her at all. People in Santa Barbara remembered her well. Tall, striking, the kind of person who drew attention simply by walking into a room. But the words they reached for, most consistently, were never about her appearance. They called her cheerful, polite, grounded. She was not someone who chased the spotlight or surrounded herself with a wide, chaotic social scene. She was warm, but she was also a little reserved, the kind of young woman who chose her company carefully and held her private life close. She attended the Instituto Técnico Santa Barbara, where she entered her very first pageant and won, becoming the school's anniversary madrina, a ceremonial ambassador for the institution. That early victory opened a door, and she walked through it. She then enrolled at the Centro Politécnico del Norte, working toward a 3-year technical baccalaureate that combined sciences, humanities, and computing. Her teachers remembered her as diligent and modest, someone who kept showing up and doing the work even as her local fame slowly began to grow. Then her father, Oscar, died of stomach cancer. María José was still a teenager. The family grieved together, and she kept going anyway. She studied. She competed. She kept showing up. That detail matters, not just as background color, but because it tells you something essential about who she was, and about how hard the women in that household had learned to hold themselves together. Away from competitions, her online presence looked like that of any other teenager finding her voice. Under the handle Alvarado_Majo, she shared song lyrics from artists like Sia, Calvin Harris, and Ricardo Arjona. She posted small reflections and everyday messages of gratitude. There was nothing in any of it that hinted at danger, at fear, or at what was coming. Just an ordinary young woman sharing an ordinary mix of music, warmth, and teenage emotion with her small corner of the internet. Honduran designer and pageant organizer Sergio Paz noticed María José when she was around 15 or 16 years old and encouraged her to represent Santa Barbara at Miss Teen Honduras 2012. She was competing against 22 contestants. She did not take the crown that year. That went to a young woman from Ocotepeque, but she finished as first runner-up and picked up a special Silueta distinction, And more importantly, she picked up something far more valuable than a title. She picked up national television attention. Shortly after, at around 16 years old, María José was hired by the popular Honduran variety and game show XO Dinero, hosted by the well-known presenter Salvador Nasralla. Her role was not that of a lead host. She modeled clothing, presented prizes, and appeared in entertainment segments. Roughly every 3 weeks, she would make the trip from Santa Barbara to the capital Tegucigalpa, record several episodes, and head straight back home to keep up with her schoolwork. Nasralla later described her as honest, calm, and completely unaffected by the exposure. The production crew looked out for her. She never caused problems. She never let the cameras change who she was. That television visibility opened commercial doors as well. She began modeling for Honduran clothing retailers and appearing at charitable events connected to vulnerable children across the region. She was becoming a recognizable face across the country, all while still living primarily with her mother in Santa Barbara and finishing secondary school. She was building something real, brick by brick, without losing herself in the process. On the 26th of April 2014, at Expo Centro in San Pedro Sula, María José competed in Miss Honduras Mundo 2014, representing the Department of Copan. The judges selected her unanimously from a field of 18 other contestants. She later admitted she had started doubting herself during the competition because another contestant had collected several preliminary awards. While waiting for the final announcement, she told herself she would be satisfied even if she did not win, because she had given everything she had. Then her name was called. At 18 years old, the little girl who used to tell her mother she would be Miss Honduras had actually done it. She was now Honduras's official representative to Miss World, scheduled to travel to London later that year. In August 2014, she traveled to Ambergris Caye in Belize to represent Honduras at the Reina de la Costa Maya International Pageant as a preview of the international stage awaiting her. She did not win, but organizers there later remembered her warmth and her smile with genuine fondness. Her official Miss World biography said she hoped to become a diplomat one day. Her presentation promoted Honduras's extraordinary ethnic diversity, including the Tawaka, Lenca, Pesh, Garifuna, and Miskito peoples, and she used her platform to encourage the world to see past her country's reputation for violence. A school friend said she also planned to begin university in Tegucigalpa the following year, pursue an international modeling career, and, in the quieter version of her future she kept for herself, simply be a mother of 2 children someday. Both versions of her future, the public one and the private one, were ripped away on the same night. Now we need to talk about Sofía, because everything that follows cannot be understood without her. Sofía Trinidad Alvarado Muñoz was María José's older sister, and in many ways she was her opposite in personality, though no less close to her in love. Where María José was quiet and measured in public, Sofía was lively, sociable, and openly affectionate. She had trained as a primary school teacher at the Escuela Normal Mixta de Santa Barbara and had worked at a private school in Comayagua before falling enrollment forced it to close, sending her back home. Teaching was her real passion. She planned to return to university and find another post as soon as she could. Sofía had already survived something devastating before any of this story even began. About a year before these events, a previous boyfriend she had lived with and planned to marry was murdered by unidentified attackers. Those close to her said she considered him the love of her life. The loss broke her open. Eventually, slowly, she started going out socially again. And that is when she met a man named Plutarco Antonio Ruiz Rodriguez. He was known locally as Paco. He was a merchant from San Vicente Centenario, born on the 13th of November 1986. By November 2014, he and Sofía had been together for roughly 3 months. Family members said they barely knew him, and what little they did know they did not like. He was intensely jealous, controlling. He reportedly tried to dictate where Sofía went, who her friends were, and even how she dressed. At one point, he told her not to wear high heels because she was taller than him. Read that again slowly, because it matters. That kind of controlling behavior, over something as small as a woman's shoes, is one of the most reliable early warning signs of a dangerous relationship, and it rarely stays small for long. Sofia's personality changed after she started seeing him. The once outgoing, vivacious young woman grew withdrawn and anxious. Her sister Karina noticed bruising on Sofia's ear and lip on at least one occasion after Sofia had been alone with him. By late October and into early November of 2014, roughly 2 weeks before Paco's birthday, the relationship had actually ended. But he kept calling. He kept showing up. He reportedly told Sofia he had been driving past her house in different vehicles and had considered placing people outside to watch her movements. When Sofia considered taking a job in Tegucigalpa to start fresh, he allegedly warned her there would be consequences if she did. Whatever brought them back into contact in time for his birthday celebration happened inside that pattern of coercion, not outside of it. That distinction is critical. And then there were the questions about María José. Karina later testified that Ruiz had begun asking Sofia strange, pointed questions about her younger sister, whether she had a boyfriend, whether men visited the family home, whether she had taken a bath. The questions were intrusive in a way that made the family deeply uneasy, though what precisely lay behind them was never formally established as a motive in court. What was established, unequivocally, was what happened next. By early to mid-November 2014, María José's life had become a blur of preparation. She was finishing her final school requirements, including an examination on the Honduran national anthem required for graduation, while simultaneously coordinating her wardrobe and travel plans for London. She had recently made a trip to Tegucigalpa to collect the outfit she would wear at Miss World. Her final taped appearance on Exo Dinero had aired on the 9th of November. Her graduation ceremony was scheduled for the 27th of November, and because she would already be in England, her school had discussed allowing her to participate by video call. She had already packed her suitcase. 6 days stood between her and her first ever flight. On the morning of the 13th of November, 2014, which happened to be Plutarco Ruiz's 28th birthday, Sofia helped organize a small gathering at Balneario La Aguagua, a recreational spa in the municipality of La Arada. That evening, telephone records would later place Ruiz near the Alvarado family home. Sofia used one of his phones to call María José and ask her to come to the party. According to their mother, María José did not really want to go. She had an exam to study for. She needed the time, but she agreed anyway because her sister wanted her there. She was picked up around 7 o'clock in the evening and arrived at the party at roughly 7:30. The celebration had food, alcohol, live music, a birthday cake, and somewhere between 15 and 20 guests. Some had traveled in from Copan. Early in the evening, witnesses noted that Ruiz and Sofia seemed affectionate together, even if the deeper tension running beneath their relationship was not visible to everyone in the room. Around 9 o'clock, people began dancing. Both sisters danced with male guests they knew from the gathering. That is what set him off. According to the court's later findings, it was Sofia dancing with another man that ignited Ruiz's rage. The sight of both sisters dancing with others appears to have compounded it into something he could not or chose not to contain. Between roughly 10:30 and 11:10 that evening, as the party was beginning to wind down, a protected witness known in court records only as Fucina saw María José, Sofia and Ruiz move toward one side of the dance floor together. The witness then saw Ruiz pull a gun from behind his waistband and begin firing. María José fell backward. The witness fled into nearby vegetation. More shots followed. When the gunfire stopped, the music was cut off. The venue went silent. From the hiding place in the vegetation, the witness watched Ruiz and another man, identified as Aris Maldonado, drive off in a white pickup truck, with Maldonado riding in the truck bed. The witness crept back toward the dance floor and observed people cleaning up extensive amounts of blood. What happened in the next hour was reconstructed with extraordinary precision by investigators using cellular records. Maldonado's phone connected to a cell tower near La Arada, close to a rural area approximately 3 to 4 kilometers from the venue, repeatedly between approximately 11:24 and 11:29 in the evening. By around 11:49, his phone was back on the tower covering the party venue. Investigators concluded the two men had made a rapid round trip, driven to a burial site, buried both bodies, and returned to the scene, all within roughly 25 minutes. María José's own phone was moved after she was already dead. It connected to a tower near San Vicente Centenario, close to properties associated with Ruiz, at approximately 11:29 that night. A telephone forensics expert concluded that someone else was carrying or operating her device. Her phone was already moving after she was gone. Investigators later seized cleaning and burial tools from the venue itself: a hose, brooms, brushes, mops, digging equipment, a bag of lime. Whoever had done this had planned for what came next. The visible blood had been scrubbed from the concrete dance floor. But a luminol test conducted on the 24th of November revealed what scrubbing cannot erase: blood traces, drag marks, shoe prints, 2 bullet impact points on the concrete. A white chair at the venue held a bloodstain whose genetic profile matched María José, corroborating precisely where the protected witness said she had fallen. 2 days after the killings on the 15th of November, Teresa Muñoz and Karina went to police to report that María José and Sofía were missing. Plutarco Ruiz showed up at the police station during that same process and told Teresa he had no idea what had happened to the 2 sisters. He claimed they had left the party with 3 unknown men. Investigators would later treat his presence there and his story as a deliberate attempt to redirect suspicion away from himself. He had already buried the evidence. Now he was shaping the narrative. In the days that followed, police, the military and civilian search teams expanded checkpoints across Santa Barbara, with the effort reportedly reaching toward the Guatemalan border. Because María José was nationally famous and just days from representing Honduras on the world stage in London, the case exploded into national headlines almost immediately. Her face was everywhere. On the 18th of November, police seized 2 pistols from Ruiz: a Beretta 92 Brigadier FS in 9mm with 12 unfired cartridges, and a Colt 45 with 8 cartridges, along with his registered firearms permits. His white Toyota pickup truck was found at a workshop, apparently in the process of being altered and repainted. He had removed the truck's black plastic bed liner and given it to another man, reportedly to use as a covering for a pig enclosure. Police later recovered it. Forensic examiners found hair inside the pickup consistent with both Ruiz and Aris Maldonado. Then on the 19th of November, 2014, the exact day María José was supposed to board a plane to London, search teams found both sisters buried near the Agua River. Their bodies were sent to Tegucigalpa for autopsy. Investigators recovered 4 bullets in total from the 2 victims, 2 from each. Forensic comparison matched all 4 to Ruiz's Beretta. Sofía had suffered 8 gunshot wounds. María José had suffered 16, with evidence on her hands consistent with an attempt to defend herself as the shots were fired. Sofía's cause of death was recorded as massive blood loss. María José died from gunshot trauma to the head and brain, along with the accumulated damage of her other wounds. The sheer number and distribution of the injuries led the court to later conclude, in writing, that the shooter had intended to leave no possibility either woman would survive. On the 20th of November, 2014, María José and Sofía were buried side by side at the San Juan Bautista Cemetery in Gualjoco. Hundreds of mourners came out despite pouring rain, alongside journalists and security personnel. Their mother kissed the closed coffins. Their sister Karina told them at the graveside that they had gone to be with their father. Later that month, the Centro Politécnico del Norte postponed María José's graduation ceremony and eventually held it as a public memorial at the Casa de la Cultura in Santa Barbara. 26 of her classmates carried candles wrapped in purple ribbon. Her empty seat was marked with 2 white roses. Teresa and Karina accepted her diploma on her behalf. She had done it. She had earned it. She just never got to hold it. Plutarco Ruiz's trial did not begin until 2017, more than 2 years after the murders. His defense team argued he was not mentally fit to stand trial. He reportedly behaved erratically in the courtroom. The Alvarado family and investigators publicly expressed the belief that it was a performance, a deliberate attempt to fake incompetence and avoid conviction. A forensic psychiatric evaluation ultimately concluded that he fully understood the proceedings against him and was mentally competent to face trial. In May 2017, the court unanimously found him responsible for both deaths. On the 20th of September 2017, he was sentenced to a combined 45 years, 30 years for the femicide of Sofía Trinidad, whom the law recognized as his intimate partner with a documented history of abuse and coercive control, and 15 years for the homicide of María José, whom the court did not classify as a femicide victim because she had no romantic relationship with him. Prosecutors announced plans to appeal that classification for María José, arguing she too deserved to be recognized under femicide law. No publicly confirmed final ruling on that appeal has emerged since. 3 other individuals connected to the cover-up of the crimes, Ares Valentin Maldonado Mejia, and spa operators Ventura Diaz Ponce and Elizabeth Alvarado Nájera, were separately convicted of concealment rather than murder. In February 2017, each accepted a 4-year sentence through an agreed proceeding. Then, almost 9 years after he killed 2 sisters and buried them beside a river, on the 2nd of January 2023, Plutarco Ruiz was killed inside Honduras's maximum security prison at La Lama, known as El Pozo. Prosecutors accused 2 fellow inmates of attacking him with a 9mm pistol and a machete-like blade in a corridor between prison modules. No official source has ever confirmed whether the killing was ordered as revenge for the murders of María José and Sofía. The theory has circulated widely. The truth, as of the time of this video, remains officially unconfirmed. Let us step back for a moment and look at what this case actually tells us, because the headlines, when they came, told only part of the story. From an investigative standpoint, what makes this case remarkable is that the conviction rested on carefully layered circumstantial evidence rather than one clean, complete eyewitness account. No single witness described the entire attack from beginning to end. One saw Ruiz draw his weapon and fire, and saw María José fall. Another only heard the shots but placed Ruiz at the scene holding a firearm. The prosecution built its case by stacking protected witness testimony against ballistic matching, blood and DNA evidence, luminol results on a scrubbed concrete floor, and cellular tower data that reconstructed a burial run down to the minute. That kind of telephone location analysis does not pinpoint an exact spot the way satellite navigation does, but combined with everything else in evidence, it corroborated a very specific 25-minute round trip between the party venue and the burial site with chilling consistency. It is also worth noting the gap between what early media reported, a single shot to Sofía's head, 2 shots to María José's back, and what the completed forensic reports actually documented: 8 wounds, 16 wounds. Initial police statements in high-profile cases are almost always incomplete, sometimes dramatically so. This case is a clear and sobering reminder of why the full autopsy and the full trial record matter far more than the first 48 hours of coverage. The physical staging of the crime scene tells its own story as well. Whoever cleaned that dance floor that night knew they had limited time and worked fast. Visible blood was removed. Cleaning tools had been brought in. A truck bed liner was discarded kilometers away to sever a physical link to the vehicle. But luminol does not respond to effort or to desperation. It finds what is there regardless of how thoroughly a surface has been mopped. And cell towers do not stop logging a phone's location just because someone is moving quickly and quietly in the dark. The 25-minute window the phones reconstructed from party to burial site and back is the kind of detail that only emerges once investigators cross-reference records that take weeks or months to formally request and properly analyze. It is also the kind of detail that almost never makes it into the early coverage that goes viral, which is precisely why it matters so much that we are talking about it here. From a behavioral standpoint, Ruiz's documented actions before, during, and after the murders fit a recognizable pattern, not of a man who simply lost control in a moment of passion, but of someone who had been building toward violence through escalating control for months. The relationship with Sofía showed the textbook markers long before a single shot was fired, isolating her from friends, dictating her appearance down to the height of her shoes, monitoring her physical movements, threatening consequences for pursuing independence. When that control was publicly challenged, in this case by the simple act of Sofía dancing with another man at a party, his response was not an argument. It was not a confrontation. It was a firearm. The decision to also kill María José, a woman he had no romantic claim over whatsoever, points toward the elimination of a witness and the punishment of everyone connected to the defiance he felt he had suffered, rather than jealousy in any conventional sense. And everything that followed showed someone fully capable of switching from explosive violence to cold, calculated self-protection almost instantly, directing the cleanup, dumping the bodies within the hour, altering his vehicle, inventing a story about 3 mysterious strangers, walking into a police station while 2 women he had killed were still buried in the ground and performing concern for their whereabouts. That is not a crime of passion. That is a pattern. There is one more thing that deserves to be said plainly, and it is the most uncomfortable part of this entire story. Honduras recorded an estimated 95% impunity rate for sexual violence and femicide around the time of these murders. Rights organizations had documented more than 2,500 killings of women in the country in just the 4 years prior to 2014. Thousands of cases, thousands of daughters, sisters, mothers, friends. Most of them never made the news. Most of them never resulted in a conviction. Most of them were never solved at all. María José's mother said it herself. She believed that without her younger daughter's national profile, without the cameras and the headlines and the Miss World countdown, the investigation would have quietly stalled the way so many others had. A conviction in a case like this was the exception, not the rule. And the reason this particular case became the exception had almost nothing to do with justice being evenly applied, and almost everything to do with the fact that the victim was famous. That is the uncomfortable truth sitting at the very bottom of this story, beneath all the evidence and the courtroom findings and the years of legal proceedings. Thousands of women, just like María José and Sofía, were buried and forgotten. This one was not, because one of them had a crown. María José Alvarado Muñoz was 19 years old. She had a suitcase packed for London. She had a diploma waiting at her school. She had a dream she had been chasing since she was old enough to say it out loud. And she had a sister who loved her enough to call her to a party she did not really want to attend. Neither of them came home. If this story stayed with you, if it made you feel something, if it made you think about something you had not thought about before, then please do something with that feeling right now. Hit the like button, leave a comment below because we genuinely read them, and your words matter to us and to this community. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. And if you are not already subscribed to TrueCrimeWeb, subscribe now and ring that notification bell so you never miss a case. Every story we tell here deserves to be heard. Every name deserves to be remembered. We will see you in the next one.